It's true that China is leading the way for the renewable energy shift, and their own economy will be carbon neutral by 2060. The USA never will. It'll keep using the global environment like a toilet. Now, Sissy Taco, I think you are half right. China is clearly leading the way while the United States is still lagging behind. I mean, we're not really slouches. We produce about 23% of all of our electricity with renewables. And will China be closer to carbon neutrality by 2060 than the United States? Maybe. One of the reasons why China is such a leader when it comes to renewable energy is that they are the world's largest importer of energy, primarily crude oil and natural gas. This makes China very dependent on energy producers like everybody in OPEC or OPEC Plus, that includes Russia, even the United States. Now, China does have a lot of coal, but that is a very, very dirty and pollutant heavy fossil fuel. It is very expensive to deal with the negative economic spillover. So if China manages to generate the vast bulk of their energy needs, and I'm talking fuel, electricity from renewables, internally, then they are no longer beholden to OPEC, OPEC Plus, any other energy producers, and they don't have to worry about the environmental effects of heavy coal usage. This kind of reminds me when the United States went to the solar energy push in the 1970s after Saudi Arabia and OPEC put us through the oil embargo. US President Jimmy Carter, who was probably one of the most hated presidents of his time, set up the Department of Energy in 1977, and with his influence, the US was leading the way when it came to solar panels and other forms of renewables. And if we followed that path, we would be the global leaders in renewable energy. We would most likely be exporting the vast bulk of our fossil fuels, like Norway, while we would be generating our own electricity and other energy needs from easily replenishable sources. But unfortunately, Reagan got elected in 1980 and he put a stop to all of that and made us much more dependent on oil. And now it'll take us a generation or more to surpass China if it becomes necessary. But we don't have the incentive to go towards renewables the way China does because we have one of the largest reserves of oil and natural gas, and we have the best technology for extracting it cheaply. But I guarantee you, whatever predictions we've been given for 2060 are going to be wildly inaccurate. Let's just go back 35 years from today in 1990. China was a dwarf of an economy compared to what it is today, and the United States was so heavily reliant on the Middle East for its oil, and natural gas was not much of a thing. We're still dealing with acid rain. There was a hole in the ozone layer. New York City, San Francisco, so many of these cities were covered in smog. Compare that to today. China is the world's second largest economy. The United States cities are not covered in smog anywhere near to the level that they were. We went from being a negative exporter of oil to a positive exporter. So now we are one of the top 10 oil exporters in the world. We are the largest producer of crude oil on the planet. And we are also the largest exporter of natural gas, which we didn't really have a resurgence of until, the 2000s, 2010s? So many things can change in 35 years. It is a wild push to think we could predict what's going to happen in 5 years, more or less 7 times that amount. But let's hope that China and the United States and the EU lead the rest of the world on the path to renewable energies.